Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. October 10th, 2017.
The Kuhner Report, presented by Kelly Financial Services.
North Korea hacks our war plans. That's right. The mad midget strikes again. This time, he hacks our war plans as we're about to go to war with North Korea. We're going to discuss that at 1:05. But first, my friends, the game changer. At a stunning press conference yesterday, Las Vegas Sheriff Lombardo. To me, this is one of the biggest mind benders I think I've ever witnessed in a long time. Literally, dramatically changed the timeline. In fact, when asked, he said, it's just a minor little tweak. There's nothing there. However, just to let you know, the security guard, the one that was allegedly shot after Paddock had killed all those people at the concert, no, he was shot 6 minutes before Paddock unleashed hellfire upon the Route 91 Harvest Festival. He was shot 6 minutes before the massacre began. Roll it, Brittany.
So let me help you with that, Ken, because you picked up on it. Yes, the timeline associated with the original shot and Mr. Campos has changed through investigation, as I have conveyed to you from the very beginning. And your zest for information and my zest to ensure the public safety and the calming of their minds is some things are going to change. Now, they are minute changes. Okay, there's not this all-encompassing answer associated with the information that we presented before. In other words, it's not completely inaccurate. But what we have learned is Mr. Campos was encountered by the suspect prior to his shooting to the outside world.
This to me is incredible. This is not some kind of a minor alteration or minor tweak, as this guy's trying to tell us. This fundamentally changes everything. Because what did the police, and remember, they were adamant on this point. What did the police say repeatedly again and again? Well, the reason for the slow response time, the reason why it took 72 minutes to finally breach the room on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay, was because they said that Paddock had stopped shooting. And why did he stop shooting after 10 minutes? Was because they said he had seen through the cameras that he had placed in his peephole in one on a room service cart outside in the hallway that a security guard was approaching the room. And so he shot, his name is Jesus Campos, the security guard. He shot him. He wounded Jesus Campos. And Jesus Campos was then able to somehow get away and warned the police about, yes, the shooter was on this floor. Yes, he was in this specific room. And hence, SWAT was able to eventually move in, breach the room. But they say Paddock shot himself in the head or in the mouth, to be specific, and killed himself. So they were slow because the security guard was shot after. The security guard had smoked out where Paddock exactly was. Now they're telling us, no. It's the exact opposite. The security guard, sorry, little mistake, was shot before the massacre took place. 6 minutes before the massacre took place. Well, now that changes everything. And I'll tell you how it changes everything. It's so obvious. Remember, the hallway was riddled with over 200 bullets. So Paddock fired over 200 rounds. He sprayed 200 rounds into the hallway. You mean to tell me, listen to this now, that the security guard is shot. He's wounded. 200 bullets are sprayed through the door. Nobody in the hallway heard 200 bullets? Before the attack took place? And then you want me to believe that the security guard, who's now shot and bleeding and badly wounded, he never called 911? He never went on his walkie-talkie or his radio to tell other security guards, hey, I'm down, I've been shot, there's 200 bullets being sprayed everywhere on the 32nd floor. That he basically said nothing? Nothing was said? The police weren't told anything? 911 was told nothing? Nothing. And then 6 minutes elapsed, and then he begins to blow out the windows, and then for 10 minutes, gunned down 59 people and 500 injured? Hey, guys, come on. Now this really doesn't make sense. Because here is now, to me, what I think is going on. I'm starting to smell a cover-up. I think this is becoming almost obvious. Because if the security guard was shot 6 minutes before, he must have told somebody. People in the room obviously heard. They must have been calling the front desk or whatever. And so this means the police knew that this guy, that shots were fired, that the security guard was wounded. That means they could have rushed the room. That means they could have intercepted Paddock and maybe potentially have prevented this atrocity from taking place. It's so obvious. You're at a hotel. I don't care how loud Las Vegas is. You're at a hotel. Boom, 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 boom. 200 freaking bullets go through the door. Security guard shot down. He hasn't called anybody. He hasn't radioed anybody. Nobody knows that 200 rounds were fired through the door. Nobody was told that this took place on the 32nd floor. There was no call to 911 or whatever, so police rush onto the scene and try to get in there as quickly as possible. You expect me to believe that this guy just limped away? And then they waited for 6 minutes, then 10 minutes of more gunfire as he massacres people, and then they decide to eventually move on the Mandalay Bay? Come on. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I'll tell you what I really find very disingenuous, and now is starting to make me profoundly distrust this investigation. Don't tell me this is a minor change in the so-called timeline, when this is a fundamental change. Because the entire story rested upon the security guard. I could play you clip after clip after clip. They were adamant on this point. Well, why were you slow? The 72 minutes. Well, here's what happened. The gunshots erupted. People were getting slaughtered at the concert venue. And they keep referring to him as a very brave security guard. And that hasn't changed. The security guard was looking, which floor was it from? What room was it from? So he approached what he thought he heard the shots, went close to the peephole, boom, was wounded, and then 200 shots were fired. So we then knew, because the security guard was wounded, what floor, what room Paddock was in. The shooting stopped. And because of that, we gathered our forces, we went up nice and slow, and then we breached the room. We rushed the room. It all was based upon the security guard being shot and having then detected exactly the location of the gunman after the shooting took place. 6 minutes before? 6 minutes. You call 911, the cops are there in 2 to 3 minutes. 6 minutes when there's a shooting is a long time. The police did nothing? Is that what you're trying to tell us? The security guard did nothing? Told nobody? Said nothing? Come on. It just doesn't pass. Come on. It's not believable. It doesn't pass the smell test. Furthermore, there are other developments you need to know about. Again, we were vindicated on this show. We broke this news last week. The police kept lying about it. Now they had to retract their original statement. Remember what I said last week. The evidence is now overwhelming through receipts, employees at the Mandalay Bay, all of whom are now saying, no, Stephen Paddock did not check in on September 28th as the police continue, or the FBI in particular, as the FBI and the media keep insisting. He checked in on the 25th. He checked in on one room on the 25th and then booked the second adjoining room on the 28th. They confirmed yesterday they had to because the evidence was so overwhelming. Yes, he did check in on the 25th and then booked the second room on the 28th. That explains the hotel receipts of room service being sent up for two on the 27th of September. It explains why Paddock was seen gambling with a female at the casino for days and days on end before the 28th. So, I have to ask another obvious question. Why did the police lie again? Why did you keep insisting that it was the 28th that he checked in when it was obvious that he checked in on the 25th? Why are you playing games with the timeline, especially the timeline between the 25th and the 28th, when we know Paddock was seen with at least one other woman and that he had room service delivered to his room that was there for two guests? Why are you trying to phase out the aspect of the timeline that shows he may have had an accomplice, or at least somebody who knew what he was maybe prepared to do? Why are you phasing all of that out? Furthermore, again, and he will not answer this, nobody will answer this, why aren't you talking about the woman who yelled out, "We're all gonna blanking die," or "You're all gonna blanking die," 45 minutes before the attack took place at the concert? The woman that was described as a 5'5", 5'6" Hispanic woman. How come no mention of that? So, you lied about the date, you lied about the timeline, you lied about when the security guard was shot. You're lying, lying, lying. And you expect us now to believe what you're telling us? You expect us to have confidence that this is going to be an objective, impartial investigation? And let me just say one more thing, because this needs to be said. Now, with this fundamental change in the timeline of the security guard being shot beforehand, not after the shooting, but 6 minutes before the shooting, think how incredibly reckless and irresponsible it was for the Las Vegas police officers 1 week after the massacre took place to do an interview with CBS's 60 Minutes. You guys didn't even have the basic timeline straight, and you got cops shooting their mouth off in front of the camera, getting their 15 minutes of fame, describing what they saw in the room, where the guns were, where the ammunition was, where the body was, where everything was. You're compromising an ongoing investigation. I only have two things I can reasonably now conclude from this. Okay, I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories. I'm just going to connect the dots, the obvious dots. Number one, either this is now turning into one of the most incompetent, inept investigations in American history. Either these are the Keystone cops who don't know what they're doing and don't know how to investigate a crime scene, which I find incredibly hard to believe. Or, number two, there's a cover-up. There's a cover-up. And the potential cover-up is very obvious. This atrocity may have been prevented, and it wasn't. 617-266-6868 is the number. Listen now to a little bit more. You know what? Let me hold that. Let me ask you. It's the Kuhner Country Poll question of the day, sponsored by Bill Kelly Financial Services. Do you still have confidence? Do you have confidence in the investigation of the Las Vegas massacre? If you still have confidence in the authorities doing their job and telling us the truth, text the letter A to 680 680. If you're like me, I've lost all confidence in them. Never mind running this investigation, just now telling us the basic truth and the basic facts. In other words, no confidence. Text the letter B to 680 680. As always, you can vote online at WRKO.com. Your calls, poll results, and a lot more. Don't touch that dial. 1226 here on the great WRKO. Okay, stunning revelations yesterday at the Las Vegas Police News Conference. They now have dramatically altered the timeline. They now say that the security guard was not shot after Stephen Paddock massacred all those people, but in fact was shot 6 minutes before he began to rain down fire from his hotel suite at the Mandalay Bay Hotel, and that during those 6 minutes, apparently the security guard did nothing. Did nothing. Just was shot, went away, didn't call anybody, didn't radio anybody. 200 rounds were sprayed across the hallway. And yet nothing happened, they claim, for those long 6 minutes. Do you believe there is now a cover-up? And the most shocking possibility of all, could it all have been prevented? Joe in Stoneham. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Joe.
Just something else for you to think about. Originally, we were told that one of the reasons it took so long for the police to enter the room is because they had to breach it with some kind of an explosive device because he had barricaded the door or something.
Yes.
So they blew up the door, they said. Now, from what you're saying today, the security guard was shot before he started killing people, and he put 200 rounds through the door.
Yes.
Now, if he had actually done that, 200 high capacity rounds through a door, there would be no door left to blow up. It would be just a hole in the wall, because those things are just cheap pine doors that they put in hotel rooms. There would be absolutely nothing left of that door after 200 rounds of ammunition put through it. So there's something fishy there. They didn't have to blow up anything. They could have just walked through the hole.
Joe, let me ask you, and I want to ask everybody this question. I stay at hotels, but I'm not really a big hotel guy, I'll be honest. Is it me? Now, I hear Las Vegas is loud. I hear the Strip is loud. I hear all of that. I get it. But still, now, this is indisputable. There are 200 rounds in the hallway, okay? So if a guy fires 200 freaking rounds in the hallway, nobody heard it? Nobody said anything? Nobody called the front desk? Nobody walked out? Nobody, what the hell? Nothing. There's a security guard lying on the ground shot. Nobody. Like, maybe it's my experience at the Holiday Inn. Maybe the Holiday Inn has thin walls when I stay at the Holiday Inn. Maybe Vegas has walls of concrete. But to me, if there's 200 rounds, I don't care how loud the music is, you're going to hear something. Andy in Nebraska. Go ahead, Andy.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Good. How are you, Andy?
I'm all right. Well, first of all, who on earth believes that nobody heard 200 bullets? When me and my girlfriend were in Minsk, we heard drunk guys fighting 5 floors down. Second of all, do you think, with respect to the Las Vegas police, so nobody heard 200 bullets. The security guard was shot and said nothing. Nobody knew what was happening. I mean, with respect, please don't urinate on me and call it rain.
Oh, Andy. That's an old Russian saying. I love it. Don't pee on my back and call it rain. Well, you know what they're doing now, Andy? Boy, they're peeing away. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, for the absolute latest, let's take it to Lori Grandy in the newsroom. 1236 here on the great WRKO. Okay, let me just play one more important piece of audio for you, because now maybe ISIS has tripled down that they had a role in what happened in Las Vegas. Well, now the investigators are tripling down that this clearly was not terrorism, had nothing to do with terrorism, don't even think about terrorism, and they're also, they say, ruling out completely even the remote possibility that there was a second shooter in that room. Listen now to Sheriff Lombardo at last night's news conference. Roll it, Brittany.
We have uncovered no evidence to show there was a second shooter. We have uncovered over 200 instances of the suspects traveling throughout Las Vegas, and he has never been seen with anyone else. We have no evidence or intelligence that the suspect was linked or had affiliation with any known terrorist groups or ideologies. In coordination with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, a comprehensive picture is being drawn as to the suspect's mental state, and currently we do not believe there is one particular event in the suspect's life for us to key on. We believe he decided to take the lives he did, and he had a very purposeful plan that he carried out.
Why did they lie about him checking in on September 28th and not September 25th? Why did they lie about the timeline all of last week? Why will they not tell us the reason why this guy and his wife were moving house to house to house for 2 to 3 weeks at a time? They'd stay and then move. Why will they not tell us, these are just obvious facts, that Mary Lou Danley, before she left to the Philippines, loaded up all of her belongings in her car if this was just a quick impromptu trip? Why, if this is not terrorism, did he travel to the Middle East? Why, if this is not terrorism, was this meticulously planned out over 3, 4, 5, 6 months? None of what they're telling us adds up. Nothing. He then says that Paddock wasn't seen with anybody. That's not true. There are witnesses now who saw him with a woman partying at the Mandalay Bay Casino, eating, drinking together, partying it up for days before the attack. How do they explain the fact that if there was nobody else with him or no other shooter or whatever, that the garage shows that somebody had taken out his car while almost simultaneously somebody had used his key card to swipe and get into his room? He can't be in two places at once. Nothing what they tell us adds up. And let me just quickly add one more incontrovertible point. How can they, within 12 hours of the deadliest mass shooting in American history, immediately rule out terrorism as they did, rule out international terrorism as they did, rule out the girlfriend as they did, and claim definitively from within 12 hours that this was a lone wolf who acted alone and who just snapped? How do you do that within 12 hours? So, if nobody else is going to say it, I'm going to say it. This is not your father's or grandfather's FBI. This is Jim Comey's FBI. This is Andrew McCabe's FBI. This is a politicized FBI at the top echelons. This is an FBI at the top leadership that is grossly incompetent, grossly inept, and completely and utterly political. James Comey and Obama destroyed J. Edgar Hoover's FBI. And let me just make, again, some obvious points. No conspiracy theories. I'm just laying out facts and nothing but the facts. During the Boston Marathon terrorist bombing, what happened? The FBI knew and was told about the Tsarnaev brothers right through the cracks. What happened during San Bernardino? They were tipped off about the two killers. The FBI wouldn't even look at their social profile, right through the cracks. Fort Hood, warning after warning after warning that this guy was a jihadist, a mujahideen. They did nothing. In other words, atrocity after atrocity after atrocity has occurred. And law enforcement, in particular the FBI, has dropped the ball. This time, this one's different. Because we're not talking 4 dead or 14 dead like at Fort Hood. This time we're talking about 59 dead. and 500 injured. And if it turns out that these guys were in fact investigating Paddock, that he was on their radar, that they were suspicious about him, but that again they dropped the ball, and again he fell through the cracks, to the point that he shoots a security guard and sprays 200 bullets into the hallway 6 minutes before the attack. And they didn't rush the room? In other words, the massacre could have been prevented? Not only will heads roll, not only will careers be destroyed, but potentially some of these guys could end up in prison. I can smell the cover-up all the way here from Boston. I don't believe them, and I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Just my opinion. 617-266-6868. So let me ask you, the poll question of the day: do you have confidence in the investigation of the Las Vegas massacre? If the answer is yes, I still do, Jeff, text the letter A to 680-680. If you say, Jeff, I'm with you, no, they're lying to us or they're utterly incompetent. Pick your poison. Text the letter B to 680-680. You can vote online at WRKO.com. And as always, the poll question, powered by Bill Kelly Financial Services. Brittany, I know the text line is burning up. What are the results so far?
94% no, 6% yes.
As the daughter of a police officer, the granddaughter of a police officer, are you an A or a B on this one?
I don't have any confidence. I haven't had any confidence in the FBI since, the marathon bombing. It just seems as though, everything slips through the cracks with them. They are looking at somebody, and then all of a sudden they plan out their attack and they go for it, and they never catch them. So what rubs me the wrong way is that Campos was shot 6 minutes before, and it's the complete opposite of what they told us. And it just seemed like Paddock, and if he did have someone else working with him, they were planning something bigger, and perhaps Campos seeing, that he was nailing the door or whatever he was doing.
Well, he was drilling some kind of a hole in the door.
Yeah, and they think that it was to block the police from getting up the stairs. So perhaps Campos, it could have been worse, and Campos was the one who kind of stopped him from, maybe something even more than what it was going to be.
You know what? I think you're onto something. I think you're really onto
if you
something.
have all of those explosives in your car.
Well, that's the other thing.
And then he was shooting at the tanks, the gas tanks.
The aviation, the fuel tanks.
The fuel tanks. So it just seemed like he had to rush his operation, basically.
That's another thing, very quickly. You're telling me there's no link to terrorism. Nothing. Can't even think about it. He's got 50 pounds of tannerite in the car. 1,600 rounds of ammunition in his car. We know he now planned to survive and escape and maybe unleash a massive car bomb. By the way, tannerite was used by Islamic terrorists in New York last year, in Chelsea, injuring 31 when they tried to blow up a building. They find pounds of explosives of ammonium nitrate, not only in his car as well, but in multiple homes. So this guy's got explosive bombs left, right, and center. And you expect us to believe that this was all the act of one man? With no network, no cell, no help, no accomplice? Come on. Come on. Honestly, you believe that? I've got swampland in Florida you may be interested in. Axel, thanks for holding. Go ahead, Axel.
How you doing, Jeff? How you been, buddy?
Good. How are you, my friend?
Good. Well, I've had some dealings with the FBI over the years in my job.
Now, Axel, just so that everybody knows, you're a police officer, correct?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything in the last 33 years. That sheriff's not running the show anymore. The minute the big badge, the FBI comes in, they take over the show. He's not running it, but he's the face of the investigation. That's why he's still talking. And the FBI comes in and they run the show. You know what happened in Boston. I think if Boston cops had they would have had him before, a lot longer before the FBI. You notice that They were caught by local police officers. It's just, we know the area, we know the people, and they come in and they don't know anybody. I think that if they let them do the investigation, I think you get a lot quicker, things done quicker with the Metro Police than the FBI. I really don't trust them. They take over the investigation. The minute they come in, you're all done. You're all done. You're not all done. They're in charge.
Axel, as somebody with 33 years of law enforcement experience, we don't have all the story. We don't have all the facts yet. So we have to have a theory. What's your theory? What do you think happened?
The explosives are what bothered me. You just can't get he's gonna lay his hands on it. Somebody had to help him get that stuff. You just can't go buy that. You gotta have some connections. And there's other, all the guns and stuff. I don't know why no one picked up on him buying all those guns. Someone should have, picked up on that. It just, somebody dropped the ball someplace, and it wasn't the Metro cops. So I just think that someone dropped the ball someplace, and they'll come out in the wash eventually, Jeff.
Axel, thank you so much, and stay safe, buddy. Take care. Russ in Boston, you're up next. Go ahead, Russ.
First of all, Jeff, when I hear this BS about the person's mental state, what a bunch of BS that is. This is an open and shut case for premeditated massacre, planned for weeks and even months in advance. And it's just so aggravating to me. And also, those that were close to him, every one of them playing Sergeant Schultz, give me a break, okay? There's people that are hiding this information, and there's no question about it. Now, yes, it could have been prevented, and I hope everybody that was there and family members of the deceased, I hope that they sue the hotel into bankruptcy and let this be a lesson for such a crazy lack of security. And, Jeff, how can you have a security guard down, all right, and him not have something on him that he can immediately press to get help and that they can pick up immediately in the area in the hotel that he's in for 7 or 8 minutes? Are you kidding me? Okay, that is unbelievable. Okay,
Russ,
and, in the
Russ, buddy.
Boston area, if you call 911, you get a response within a few minutes.
Bingo.
And that's why it's so ridiculous. Lack of cameras, a lack of staff not being trained correctly. I mean, it is just unbelievable how poorly this is being handled. And the other thing is, all right, I get so aggravated when I hear these, and I don't pay any attention to them, Jeff, with the initial reports, this doesn't look like terrorism, okay? Until you fully investigate everything down to the T, you may not know exactly what it is. And all preliminary reports, many times, is full of crap.
Russ, do you know anybody who doesn't have a cell phone?
No.
I'm thinking that you're talking about a button to press. I'm thinking, what about your cell phone?
Yeah.
I mean, Russ, if you're shot, okay, 200 bullets just flew through a door. You're shot. You're bleeding. You're limping your way back. You're not going to, 911, hello, this is Russ. I'm on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay. Help, I've been shot.
And Jeff, seriously, if there's sufficient security cameras, how does this person set up cameras around his room? And how do you not have the staff at least once within a 24-hour period enter the room, to make sure that everything's fine, clean it, new towels, whatever the case. The fact that he was in there for several days and no members of the staff were in that room, you got to be kidding me.
Russ, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Now, in the light of all of this new information and evidence, what do you think really happened that fateful night? And do you still have confidence in the investigation? Or do you think we're being lied to? Your calls next.
But what we have learned is Mr. Campos was encountered by the suspect prior to his shooting to the outside world.
Chris in Gloucester. Go ahead, Chris, and welcome.
Yeah, a couple of things. I'm curious as to why you don't call this terrorist. It's clearly terrorism.
Oh, I don't know yet.
Domestic terrorism. It's clearly domestic terrorism
Well, how do we know that?
because it was a terrorist act committed by Americans. It seems hard for the people on the right to attribute the terrorism to homegrown terrorism. It seems like it's more important to pin it on the extreme Islamic terrorism. I think that's one thing that's going on here.
Well, hold on, Chris, before you get to point number 2. Well, no, I've condemned all kinds of domestic terrorism, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, I can run down the whole list. But for that to be terrorism, there has to be a political end. You commit violence in the name of a political end. So what was the political end? What was the political goal?
I guess I don't know.
Well, then you can't call it terrorism.
That's when 50 people get killed, it's an act of terror.
Well, no, it's an act of evil. But if you want to call it an act of terrorism, terrorism by definition is the use of violence to achieve a political end or a political purpose. So again, what's the political purpose?
There might well be one there. It could be.
Well, you don't know. See, that's my point. So, and you're trying to turn this on the right. This has nothing to do with the right or the left. This has to do with our government lying to us and our government giving us bad information and being caught being lied to repeatedly.
Well, I don't know if there's hard evidence of that. I heard.
Well, no, there is hard evidence of that. They told us for a week that the security guard was shot after the massacre took place. Now we're being told that it occurred before the massacre took place. They told us repeatedly that he booked the room on September 28th when I said for days, no, the evidence shows the 25th. Now they admit it's the 25th. So they have been caught in lie after lie after lie. Look, do you believe everything your government tells you?
No.
Well, there you go. So what's the problem?
Well, I have another look. I guess we're not sure. I don't know. Sometimes a lie can be a mistake. It can be a mistake. It can be a lie, right?
Right. You keep making the same mistake over and over again when it's convenient for you. Come on. I wasn't born yesterday. Bill in Sudbury. Go ahead, Bill.
Hello. Good morning. Hi, Jeff. How you doing?
Good.
I haven't talked to you in a bit. I think you're being awful hard on the security guard.
Sure.
All right? If he's been shot, I'm thinking of myself. If I've been shot, it might take me 5 or 6 minutes to collect my thoughts and get my bearings.
Sure.
And pick up a walkie-talkie and call somebody.
That's right. And then what about the 10 minutes after that? I mean, so he never called for over 15 minutes. I mean, this is like, guys, this is not a Hollywood movie. This is real life. When people get shot, they call 911. And all security guards have radios at these Las Vegas hotels. He never went on the radio? Never? Come on. Okay, are we going to war with North Korea? Well, they just hacked our war plans. I swear to you. Next.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 1 o'clock.